Get ready to play.
Here in the window box we watch the world go by. A rather handsome daffodil.
And a rose who's rather shy.
Oh, I could listen to that all day. Our guest editor, Floella Benjamin, as you probably best know her, entertaining and educating children on the TV programme Play School. And those of you who watch that, she refers to you as her Play School babies. But she would like more people coming up now, more young people, to be engaged with that sort of content. And she's worried about the state of what they are watching and what's left of children's television.
Television influences children's thinking and behaviour. I know this for a fact because of my play school experiences over the last 48 years. Grown men and women tell me how much their lives were influenced by watching the programmes. It has remained a deep-rooted part of their childhood. Sadly, the quality and quantity of children's television are in decline. Most parents you speak to will tell you that their children are not watching TV as a family, but watching mostly unregulated adult content alone in their bedrooms. I wanted to speak to two television commissioners about the future of children's television. They are Patricia Hidalgo, Director of Children's and Education at the BBC. That means she's the big boss of CBBC, CBBS and Bite Size, and Louise Bucknole, General Manager for Kids and Family at Paramount UK. That includes Channel 5's Milkshake, Nickelodeon and the Paramount streaming service. Louise and Patricia, welcome. Is the industry on its knees? Is it in crisis? Louise.
Well, on Channel 5, we have Milkshake, which is our preschool block on Channel 5. And we're very proud to have that content every single day on our main channel. It's the absolute jewel in the crown. The content is consumed on linear, but we do have other platforms as well. It is tough at the moment in terms of producing content, but what we have to be is very creative and agile about the kind of content that we're making.
Patricia, what about you? Do you feel we are in a crisis?
The whole of the children's industry, not just in the UK, globally, is on its knees because of the changes in the way that children are actually consuming content and what that means to some of the operators that used to be making children's content. At the BBC, we have not stopped creating really valuable children's content at scale. Fantastic drama, comedy, animation, you name it, and very British and very culturally relevant. But it is true that it is mostly only public service broadcasters and mostly the BBC that is able to continue to provide this content. Streaming has become a prevalent way of watching for children, and streaming services don't feel that they need to invest in content that is for those children of those local markets to attract them to their platforms. They will invest in content that is local, but mostly for the adult population of that country.
So how do we get children to engage with television content that's been made specially for them? Because we know that they're in their bedrooms watching TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, and we've got to wake up to that.
The BBC still reaches 70% of children across the UK. As Louise was saying just a minute ago, it's not just about television anymore. We really have to be across so many other types of content, whether it's, our streaming channels, our websites, YouTube, what we do on social media is really, really important for them.
Louise?
Kids are digital natives. And so even from a very young age, they like meerkats. I like that show. I'm going to see where I can find it. Linear is still very, very a high percentage of the viewing that we have to Milkshakers. But we have other platforms as well that content will be on because you have to put content everywhere where kids are consuming that content.
I spoke to a panel of parents and children about TV at the Harris Academy in London. And they found that there wasn't the content for their age group, which is 11 to 16-year-olds, but there was for younger children, as you've both said.
I feel like if children can see things that are happening to them and people that are relating to them, it can make me feel like you're not alone.
I think the quality programming is probably out there, but I think when they hit the age of 11, I find the shared experiences are maybe not as common and not as maybe valid as they used to be.
So I would want to make a TV show that's positive, but also realistic, that if you were a kid who's struggling with, say, mental health, it shows you're not alone.
Patricia, what would you say to these young people who were quite articulate about what their feelings were when they reached the age of 11 to 16?
I would say that there is a lot of content that the BBC is providing for them, and maybe we need to get better at communicating that, but there is so much content out there, content that makes a positive impact on their lives.
Well, you started off the conversation by saying children's content, children's industry is on its knees. Can you leave the audience with something that's kind of optimistic about what they themselves need to do to help the children's industry become as successful as it used to be? Louise, what would you say?
The Young Audiences Content Fund was a hugely successful pilot scheme. For us at Channel 5, it funded 13 amazing productions. £45 million was invested into content. And what we believe is a contestable fund or a pool of money would support the UK industry.
Private-public funding.
Yes, we are commissioning content, but not at the same level. And what we're having to do because of the funding challenges, particularly on live action series, is we're having to fully fund series. So we're not going to make as many because we have a limit on our budgets. There's no magic money pot.
Patricia?
I always believe that the way to make people do what's right is to positively incentivize people to do what's right. If we could have some sort of increased tax incentive that was specifically targeted to creating culturally relevant content for children in the UK, that would go a long way. I think that would be my number one wish.
Well, I hope government is listening and Ofcom is listening and anybody out there who cares about childhood memories, because childhood lasts a lifetime and you both are creating and producing wonderful content for children for the future. So thank you very much for joining me today.